Jett is definitely the best agent to take risks with, which has the potential for some great rewards and highlight reel plays. Hello everyone, I'm Achax, and today we're going to go over what makes Jett such a great pick. Let's start with her abilities. Jett's free ability is called Tailwind. You get one per round and you can refill it if you find 2 frags in one round. You may not be able to tell yet, but all of this gameplay is centered around Tailwind. Tailwind is going to let you hold risky off angles, which will give you an advantage in a gunfight, because the opponent won't expect you to be standing somewhere so far out in the open. You can use it to shoot off an op shot or a quick burst, then jump back into cover. It's going to let you go into areas like this one, which are susceptible to nades and mollies, with low risk, because you can shoot across the gap and escape. You can use it to avoid boombots, or Sova's ultimate ability. Another usage of Tailwind for both sides is the rush. It's a little difficult to explain, but there is essentially an expected timing any given player has of when they will first see an opponent. By showing up sooner using Tailwind, you often peek a player who isn't really focused. They may be zoned out or unprepared and are an easy pick. A lot of the time you won't need to use Tailwind, but you have it just in case, so you can always play the risky playstyle until you do have to use Tailwind. As a result, Tailwind has sweeping implications for Jett's playstyle as a whole. While the trailer did make Tailwind look really cool, you're probably not going to want to use it as an aggressive or peeking tool, because when you dash, you have to put your gun away until the end, and at the end, you slow down very quickly and abruptly. This makes you an easy target. Jett's second ability is called Updraft. It allows her to fly up to a certain height, but instantly, unlike Ray's. You put your gun away in this one too, but that doesn't really matter, as shooting in the air is inaccurate with anything except a shotgun. Updraft will allow you to get to elevated locations. When attacking, you can jump to these elevated locations and surprise opponents. When defending, you can jump to an elevated location, preferably long before a push. This will give you an advantage because most of the time, opponents will check normal level places first, and they won't expect you. The combination of the time created by this delay and opponent surprise means that you almost always get at least one pick, usually 2 if there are 2, depending on the opponent's awareness. You definitely want to use Tailwind or Cloudburst to get away after an initial engagement, even if you don't get the frag. Elevated angles tend to be pretty open, so don't linger. Sometimes they won't check your location at all. If you combine this situation with trigger discipline, you're poised for straight up winning the round. Make sure not to play the same spot over and over, or you will lose that element of surprise. On both attacking and defending, you'll begin to notice opportunities to use Updraft to get to elevated positions and surprise your opponents. A lot of the time, it will be a good idea to take advantage of them, as long as you don't do the same thing too many times. The last main ability is Cloudburst. These are a maximum of 3 smokes per round bound to C by default. If you hold C, you can continue to control the smokes after you throw them using your mouse. These smokes are quicker, but less precise than Brimstone or Omen's smokes. You can use them to cover your risky plays. For example, after a double Updraft pick, you can Tailwind off the elevated position and smoke below you while retreating to sight. Many off angles have the disadvantage of being exposed to more than one spot. You can smoke off one side to make your crosshair placement easier. The smokes are great for blocking off entrances in defense or after plan. You can use the smokes to block off the left or right side of sight and peek the other side, and you can then use them as cover to activate Tailwind and rush sight more quickly. This has a similar effect to rushing, as it breaks the tempo of the match. It's also a good idea to use Cloudburst as cover after you use Tailwind. If you use Tailwind to cross a gap, but then find yourself stuck, smoke the cross and you can run back. In this way, it allows you to use Tailwind more freely, because it dampens the risk of being without Tailwind. Jett's ultimate ability is surprisingly conventional. It's 5 throwing knives, and it combos very well with Jett's other abilities, as the knives recover quickly after a Tailwind or an Updraft. You can throw them accurately while in the air or while running, which has some excellent potential. They deal 50 to the body or legs, or are a one-tap headshot. The left click is accurate to a fault, and the right click is like a shotgun, where they throw with spread. You should probably only use that one really up close. They combo well with a more risky economy. You can force or buy extra knowing that you can use her ult in place of a weapon next round. When your economy is healthy, use it when you need to reload but don't have time, or to jump over a wall and smokes to take out an opponent, or for something unique, like jumping out of heaven on a retake and picking someone off while falling. Alright, now that you know all about Jett's abilities, let's talk about how to use them together to pull off some incredible highlight reel plays. These are going to be closer to general strategies than actual combos like I would do for someone like Viper, because Jett's ability usage is highly situational. The first offensive strategy is to smoke off one side of a site you want to take. Then, clear the other side. If possible, updraft on top of a box to look over your smokes or play a more unlikely angle. Then, tailwind off after an engagement. The second strategy is to just attack something right off the bat, and use Tailwind to retreat if you have to. Aggression like this can result in a very fast site take, which means the rotates will come in later. This will put a lot of time pressure on the opponents, making the retake very difficult, and going a long way towards locking down the round. The third offensive strategy is to rush, or cross early to surprise the opponents. General offensive strategy is to use Tailwind and Updraft to escape nades, mollies, boombots, and anything else that you have to. This will allow you to play off angles, push into opposing territory, or sit in corners that are vulnerable to utility. Since on offense you won't really have as much room to prepare for engagements, you will be freewheeling a lot, and that's perfectly fine and fits well into Jett's playstyle. The first defensive strategy is to play an opening angle like this one. While this would usually be a great way to get picked off early or while falling back to site, go for an early pick here and then use Cloudburst, Tailwind, and Updraft as needed to cover your escape and find a new spot. You typically don't want to or need to push through. The second defensive strategy is to use Updraft during the preparation phase to jump onto a box. After the first engagement, use Cloudburst and Tailwind as necessary to fall back safely and relocate. You may use Trigger Discipline to delay this first engagement and attempt to score a multi-frag. This is a fantastic way to get incredible highlight reel plays and do things like get a 4K, locking down the round before they even plant. The third defensive strategy is to rush early using Tailwind and catch someone off guard. If you don't see anyone, you can fall back and go into the second strategy or whatever else you want to do. General defensive strategy contains all the elements of offensive strategy with one major difference in mind. On offense, you're trying to take territory. On defense, you can give it up and still win the round, so you want to fall back after picks. Defensive strategy also includes updrafting around execute utility to spot opponents or to jump on top of elevated positions to look for picks. Use Updraft, Tailwind, and Cloudburst as necessary to reposition, isolate opponents, and do whatever else comes to mind. Let's talk about the best weapons to combo with Jett's abilities. I really like using the op with Jett to find those opening picks, to hold off angles, and to jump on top of boxes. I think the reactive style of the op pairs very well with Jett's own natural playstyle. The shotguns are accurate while in the air. I haven't found much use to this because jumping over players increases the distance, but this is definitely something with the potential to land some nice picks, maybe attacking a higher elevation. The Spectre works great with Jett. With its quick draw time, it combos well with Jett's dash and updraft abilities. Its overall firing speed allows Jett to make a few mistakes, which is a good thing since Jett can be in the open often, and the Spectre works well with Jett's tendency to close distance. Between the Vandal and the Phantom, I would choose the Vandal most of the time. With Jett, your playstyle allows you to have 1 to 2 more opportunities to find a pick, and the Vandal can let you finish opponents, which is better than tagging opponents with the Phantom. The Phantom is better around smokes though. As for the agents that combo best with Jett, Sage is going to heal you, which is great since you will often take damage while attacking. But since it's so early, Sage will get her heal back sooner, which is good. Sova is great in combo with Jett, because his arrow can be shot ahead of Jett to deliver intel. Breach can suddenly flash through walls, which is a great setup for Jett's initial attacks. On defense, Cypher tripwires and cameras can be a great tool for a Jett who has updrafted to an elevated position. My final word of advice is don't overthink Jett. Her abilities are pretty straightforward, and while you can come up with some pretty unconventional moves using them, you usually won't have time to do much thinking at all. Part of reaching Jett's full potential is embracing your own creativity in the moment. This will be very, very effective if you have good habits or good instincts in strategy. And that is how to play Jett. I hope you found some value in this video. Best of luck everyone, and have a great day.